Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. It is a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys, Friday, March the 8th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we welcome back, hello, stranger. It has been a while since we've had our old friend. He's been on Fridays with us a bunch in the past, but hey, life sometimes interrupts the proceedings, and that's definitely been the case, but he's back with us here today. Nate Rapensky, former collegiate player with the Yale Bulldogs, of course. Nate, welcome back. It has been a while. You've been missed. How are things?
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for having me on again. It's been good. It's been, life's been busy, a lot of stuff going on, work and all this sort of personal commitments, but life's been good. I'm hanging out, like I said, in New York today. It's like 51, 52 degrees and sunny. So it's going to be a great day to grab some early happy hour brews and just have a good weekend. So yeah, I'm excited to be back. Obviously NHL's heating up here, trade deadline, some of those things come in, playoff push. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Just a betting update from you, Nate, since obviously it's been a few months now since you've been on the show and we've talked to you. How have things been going?
It's been good. It's been good as of late. Obviously, as you guys know, I kind of track all the leagues and am active across sports, but the NHL has been pretty good. I've been, for better or for worse, based on personal personal support, supporting Alex Lyon and the Detroit Red Wings, which has been relatively profitable this year in some of those spots. So that's been fun, but overall it's been a pretty good year. And in general, bummed my Minnesota Wild aren't a little better. I'm hoping they kind of clean house here at the deadline, but it's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, they are one of those in-between type of teams, right? They're not really totally out of the playoff mix. They're actually only 5 points back of Vegas. They're definitely not totally out of it, but it doesn't always feel like they're totally in it either, and it still feels like they're probably going to end up falling short. But nevertheless, the way Vegas is going, right now, never say never, but obviously Minnesota has work to do. Let's do the recap first, and then we will touch on the trades that have gone down since the end of yesterday's show. So last night's recap was a very good night overall. And the only thing I can complain about is using the LA Kings first period puck line as my best bet on the show. Still can't. That's why I don't take the puck lines very often at all with the LA Kings. Even against the lowly, struggling Ottawa Senators, can't fully trust them with the puck lines as a bigger favorite. But they did come back and they beat the Ottawa Senators last night. 4-3 in overtime. Thank goodness I added the team total, and I know Alex was liking that on the show yesterday because the team total is the only thing that hit with LA. The first period puck line, full game puck line fell short either, unless you took them in regulation, but even that doesn't cash. A 4-3 overtime win for the LA Kings last night. Not pretty. They didn't start the game well at all, but they got the 2 points they had to have against a team like the Senators after losing to Vancouver the other night. So it was a nice bounce back there for LA in that one to rescue themselves after being down 3-2, actually, going into the third. Boston continues their dominance against Toronto, 4-1 last night. Bruins and under cash in that game. It was what I loved about that game is the intensity and the hatred of the Bruins-Leafs rivalry returned. That was great. I thought it was a very tepid, very, very dull game for Leafs Bruins standards on Monday in Toronto, but not last night. A lot of animosity, a lot of controversial plays. There was a cross-check by McCabe to Marchand that got him a couple of penalties. There was a very dubious play with Marchand and Matthew Knies, which resulted in Knies getting injured, leaving the game, and unable to return. Of course, fellow Minnesota native, not Minnesota native, but played at Minnesota Golden Gophers, Matthew Knies, Arizona native, I should say, but left the game with that Marchand injury, and we will see if how his status is moving forward. And that led to a lot of scrums after the whistle, a lot of bad blood, a couple of fights as well. Bertuzzi and Wotherspoon dropped the glove, so it was great to just see that anger and that animosity back again between the Bruins and the Leafs. Boston, though, that is now what? 8 straight wins against Toronto, 4 straight this season alone. So kind of a mental block now that the Leafs have to kind of overcome against this Boston team if they are to meet in the first round. And that is definitely something that's still very much a possibility. Carolina 4-1 against Montreal. Freddie Anderson, solid in his return. He gave up an early goal, nothing after that. So let's give Freddie Anderson credit. You know, we've talked about and joked all along about how he can't stay healthy. He's an older goalie, but solid effort from him in his return to the net for Carolina. They beat Montreal 4-1. How about the Jackets? One of the upsets, 4-2 against the Oilers last night. One of the big upsets of the night. They get the job done against Edmonton and fend off a late Edmonton rally to get the victory there. And the other big upset was Philadelphia. That's now 2 in a row that the Flyers have won in Florida, beating the mighty Panthers by a score of 2-1, a late goal in regulation to give the Flyers the victory. So credit to Philadelphia. We did speak about it on the show yesterday that I was a little worried about that spot for Florida. And sure enough, it reared its ugly head. New Jersey, I was rewarded for my faith in them last night. First period puck line, full game puck line, and team total on the Devils. All cash in for me in that game. So good result there as they take care of St. Louis 4-1. That's more typical of the kind of effort you should see from a team after a coaching change. They didn't have that against Florida because they were playing Florida. Florida's an amazing team. Stepped down in class. I thought it was a good spot for New Jersey now with Travis Green to get that first win for him, and they did against the Blues. 4-1 victory for the Devils at home. Nico Dawes, he's not perfect, but he's certainly the best they've got, you know, right now in net for the Devils at the moment. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins, another game where I was rewarded. How on earth can you lay minus 150 or more with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now? They proved you cannot lay that price with them. They get absolutely blown out on their home ice by Washington, 6-0 last night. All Capitals all the time. Very, very pathetic effort, you know, and once they got behind, there was no pushback. Of course, the Penguins are dealing with a lot going into that game. The Jake Gensel trade was just being finalized to Carolina, so I understand it from that perspective. But still, that's just a dismal performance by Pittsburgh, who not a team I'm going to want my money on anytime soon. Doesn't mean I'm going to fade them every game, but it's definitely not a team I'm going to be backing anytime soon right now. And you saw the interviews with Crosby after the game. He looked like he lost his best friend. He looked completely and utterly dismayed, sad, just completely forlorn in that dressing room after that game last night. Everything that's been going on. Selling, you're not going anywhere. You just lost a best friend, your line mate, Jake Gensel, for the last several years. So really tough times for Pittsburgh. Tough times for Tampa Bay, man. The struggles continue. 6-3 loss to Calgary at home. And this is one that I got wrong because Tampa, I thought, was in a good situation here. They just suck right now. They're not good. They're not good. They're not good at home all of a sudden. You know, other than a narrow win against Montreal on Saturday at home, they've lost to Buffalo. They've lost to Washington. They've had some really bad home losses lately. And another one last night against the Calgary Flames. He looks more than human right now. Andre Vasilevsky in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, but credit to Calgary. You know, Calgary's still alive in the playoff mix. They're only 4 or 5 points out. And a huge goal prop for me in this game. We mentioned him on the show. Jacob Peltier yesterday up on the top line for Calgary. What, plus 700 you could have found in some spots with him. He ends up scoring for the Flames, so that was good to see. And by the way, I forgot to mention too, Josh Waugh plus 700 in the Montreal game. He got their only goal. It was another big prop hit for me with the goal props, and we mentioned him on the show yesterday as well. Nashville 4-2 against Buffalo. Bo Byram in his Sabres debut gets on the board and scores a goal, but that's about one of the few positives for Buffalo. Nashville gets it done. First period over, both teams to score cashed. Full game over pushed for me because I had 6 on the full game total. But we did cash the Nashville team total over 3.5 as they get the 4-2 win there against the Sabres. 5-2 Minnesota against Arizona. And I know Alex and I were both loving the explosion in the third period in that game because first period over. But we still had the full game over, and even that wasn't looking good. It was 1-0 Minnesota going into the third. I got to say, even though we got lucky as shit to cash the over, if anyone had the under, that's brutal. Okay, it's 1-0 Minnesota going into the third. And to lose that is just...
I did.
Oh, shit, Nate. You had the under?
Yeah, I actually took it live in the first period. I think I had under 5.
Wow.
And it was 1-0 going into the third. And I ended up, I had Minnesota as well. I got them actually live when it was tied in the third when Arizona came back. So it evened out, but it was a tough under to swallow for sure.
Wow, man. My thoughts and to go out to you on that one. That's tough. That's still tough. We'll take it though. Alex and I very fortunate, but we had some multiple empty net goals by Minnesota, and they end up winning 5-2 in that game. I think Alex and I both had a piece of this. Vancouver, they get the job done 3-1 against Vegas. I mean, Malinsky special, which is of course a team coming back home off a 4-game or longer road trip, which it was for Vegas. And this is now a thing with these teams integrating new parts into the lineup that they've struggled in the first game. Florida didn't win with Tarasenko. Did we see Vegas win with Mantha and Hannafin last night? No, we did not. Did we see Edmonton win last night with Henrique and Carrick for the first time? No, we did not. I mean, it's really remarkable to see how many teams that had their new trade deadline acquisitions in the lineup for the first time didn't win that first game. It can upset chemistry just in the very short term, that first game. And again, with Vegas last night, plus coming off the long road trip against a Vancouver team that's righted the ship defensively on this road trip, it was a tough spot, and it played out that way. So we cashed with Vancouver 3-1 in that game. And I know Alex was on Vancouver in regulation, and of course his best bet for the show with the first period over with Vancouver and Vegas as well. So a nice result in that game for Alex all the way around. Same with this next game. Great result. Everything played out the way I was hoping. Islanders and Sharks, 7-2 Islanders. Magnus Corona, not quite ready to believe in him after that Dallas game, just as we talked about yesterday. Show it to me again, and he could not show it to us again. Another good performance in net. He gets ripped apart. 7 Islander goals. That was a terrific game all around. Cash all 3 bets. The over bifecta, which is, of course, over 1.5 first period, over 6.5 for the game. And, of course, the Islanders team total, no sweat, flies way over the 3.5 as they put a 7 spot on the board in a 7-2 beatdown over the San Jose Sharks. We said this in our DM with me, Alex, and a few of our closest Ice Guys family members. Matt's in that DM and a couple of our viewers and listeners, and we talked about it. San Jose is it's going to be difficult for me to lay off the over every game moving forward if they're going to have to cycle between Magnus Corona and Kaka in net right now for them. And, of course, that's Kaapo Kakkonen, who's been absolutely terrible lately. If they have to go back and forth between both of those guys, and we don't see Mackenzie Blackwood returning anytime soon, it's going to be difficult for me to just not go back to the well repeatedly over and over again with San Jose overs or opposition team totals to the over because it is just a horror show right now. Nightmare for San Jose keeping the puck out of their own net with these 2 guys in net. Alex, thoughts on last night?
I'm just going to quickly just talk about that because I didn't have any action in the game, but I will be doing my updated goalie charts this weekend. Once all the trades are finalized, we know where people are. There's going to be some guys who are currently up in the NHL who are getting sent down to the AHL so they can be available for postseason play in the Calder Cup. San Jose is number 32 on my list. Magnus Corona might actually be the lowest goalie I've had since I've been doing these rankings digitally. And like I said, it's predicated on what I saw beforehand because like I said, go back and watch clips of him in the AHL and then to see, yes, he had the great starting in Dallas, but what I saw last night was more of what we're kind of going to notice and see from him. And if we see him and Kakkonen, like you said, down the stretch, yeah, it could be goals galore. I mean, they're in tank mode. And they might really be driving the tank at full speed, both these goaltenders. So, problems ashore by the Bay. But just go with the Boston-Toronto game. You know, Boston, another statement, for them. And, does Toronto take this as another lesson? Or do they just, wake the fuck up and play the hockey they need to be playing right now?
I don't want to hear about lessons again from John Tavares. Shut up with that. Win a game, please.
Yeah. Here end the lesson. And chances are that, if you end up having to play, more than likely going to have to play this Boston Bruins team, and they get home ice because of these 2 wins they got this week. Like I said, the media is going to be all over them throughout that entire series. And that's very unfortunate because this is a Leafs team that, 2-3 weeks ago, like, wow, okay, we're starting to see what all these Leafs fans have been wanting to see for the last 20 years out of this team. And all of a sudden now, you creep into this doubt. And like I said, if you start it's just this series. Even if they could just avoid playing Boston in the first round, that would take so much pressure off of Toronto because, right, like I said, the first round pressure is gone, right? We don't have to talk about that anymore. It's all about just advancing forward. But now you bring the Boston shit back into it. You bring 2013 memories back into it. And now all that doubt comes right back. And that's unfortunate to see because I think this is a talented Toronto team. Honestly, I still would be kind of pushed to maybe bet Toronto to beat Boston in a 7-game series if I had to make that wager right now. But it's tough and it's something we're going to have to see. And obviously now these teams making trades, these are teams that we definitely got to wait and kind of just hold off for. Same thing with Colorado and same thing with Carolina. Carolina, great win over Montreal, but okay, Montreal, anybody damn near beat Montreal these days. Now they're adding all these pieces in that we're going to talk about in a little bit. We got to wait and see where everybody's going to slide in, where everybody's going to gel. I think it's going to take a lot of time, and you're seeing a lot of big moving parts and guys who are really going to be. Remember, we talked about that. So that's what I liked about the moves that Florida made, for example, a little bit more because they were subtle, low-key parts. You slide guys in. Tarasenko doesn't need to be your top 6 guy. We'll talk about Kyle Okposo. You're not expecting him to give you top points in minutes. Those are the teams that will have the transitions go a little bit easier, where Carolina's got all kind of big name pieces that they're going to be throwing in that are going to be contributors, and they need them to be contributors to move through and possibly win the East, win a Stanley Cup. That's going to take a little bit more time to gel. So that's the biggest takeaway is what we saw last night from a lot of these teams. We may not see that from teams good or bad tomorrow, tonight, and even the rest of the weekend. So it's a tread lightly spot for a reason. And obviously the key of the night, the reason why I'm wearing the Panther jersey, Gustav Forsling, getting the only goal for the Florida Panthers plus 800, another bargain bin win. And, it's just amazing. Like I said, I just felt like he'd be in good rhythm, good motion. They interviewed him before the game, asked about the contract. He just, very humble answer and just kind of said, I appreciate this team, giving me a chance. And I want to be able to prove to them that, they're making the right investment. And I felt like, he'd be dialed in for that. I didn't think that he'd be the only goal of the game for the Florida Panthers, but certainly grateful that he got that kind of seeing eye shot from the point through cashing it plus 800.
Absolutely, Alex. Another incredible call with the bargain bin. Gustav Forsling plus 800. Alex was saying it's something like 6 of his last 13 shows. 6 of his last 13 days with the bargain bin he's cashed. That's like almost 50% for when the prices you're getting. That is incredible, and it adds up in a hurry. And then
the other 2 players that I had Max Domi, he didn't do anything, but I had Zach Hyman again, first Oilers goal plus 500. So he's now scored the first goal for the Oilers in 5 of the last 7 games. Yes. And those other 2 games, it's been Leon Draisaitl. So keep riding this with Edmonton tomorrow. I'd take a quarter of a unit, split it in half, and go Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, first goal for Edmonton. These have been the guys to get things rolling for that team right now.
And if just one of them scores that first Edmonton goal, you're in profit. That's the strategy, 100%. Yeah. And again, one of Hyman or Draisaitl have scored the first goal for the Oilers in 7 straight games. 5 for Hyman, 2 for Draisaitl. Yeah. So that is definitely something to keep in mind when they're back in action tomorrow. Nate, what are your thoughts on what we saw Thursday night?
Yeah, I think you guys called out a lot of good points. I mean, Alex, with your point around the trade deadline and teams sort of moving in different directions, I think it's a time to tread lightly in some ways, but also you can look to take advantage, right? Like, so Ian, you mentioned Pittsburgh, sort of getting rid of Gensel, kind of waving the white flag a bit. You could have saw that 6-0 loss coming in a way last night, right? It's reminiscent of, when Crosby lost somebody like Kunitz, somebody who was so, just critical on the ice with him, where he knew where he was at all times. And without somebody like Gensel on there, Crosby's going to struggle and Pittsburgh's, sort of waving the right flag. So I think when you can identify those opportunities, you can, find an edge. I think Minnesota almost going the opposite way. They traded Duhaime yesterday, but played a pretty spirited game against Arizona, right? And seemed to be in the media and other ways saying, hey, it's our fault. Bill Guerin's having to trade guys away. We need to, continue to invest and make his life easier. And so you see a team like that who's resilient. So I think it's interesting to see which way teams go. And that's kind of how I've been following some of these games, night in and night out, and why I placed a bet on Minnesota last night. Yeah, moving forward with the Oilers, you guys touched on it too. I mean, the emergence of Zach Hyman has been crazy, right? He's been a quality player in this league for a while, but this year has been, something I don't think anyone expected. And you wonder if it's one of those fluke years where it feels like everything coming off his stick is gold, and we see, sort of a return to the mean next year. But that's been interesting to follow. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I think last night, you just start to see the standings shake up a little bit. You see who's actually going to sort of emerge and rise to the top as the cream does, and who goes the other way. And so Pittsburgh's a team I'll look to fade throughout the rest of the season, particularly in the right spots, because I think, for better or for worse, that core is done. They're done winning with that core, and they're kind of giving up.
Yeah, and you can tell it's just reality sinking in, and that looked like a very, very depressed dressing room last night, especially the older guys, Crosby, Malkin, Letang. They were very, very, they didn't want anything, very sullen. They didn't want anything to do with probably answering those questions from the reporters, the throng of reporters in the dressing room after the loss to Washington last night. So, yeah, obviously they know this is the end of the road for this group as far as, legitimate, not only contenders, but playoffs even. So tough times right now for the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially for that older core. Just on a few of the trades before we get into the 4 games on Friday night, the main ones have obviously the Jake Gensel trade that went down last night. The Carolina Hurricanes fan base was clamoring for them to do something, add to this team offensively, and boy, they did that. And the great thing for Carolina is when you add a Jake Gensel, you're getting a guy that has shown up in the playoffs. This guy's playoff numbers over the years have been absolutely terrific. You just hope he can stay healthy, because that's been a little bit of a bugaboo for him the last few years. Injury upon injury has really chipped away at his playing time and his games played per season. But if he can stay healthy, man, is that ever a huge addition for a team that looks, they need a little more offense. I don't think you could just go to war with your Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen, core that you've had the last few years, knowing that, your offense was totally shut down in the Eastern Conference Final by the Florida Panthers in that sweep last year. You need a little bit more high-end skill and finishing ability, and Jake Gensel delivers that for the Carolina Hurricanes. And what's shocking to me is what they gave up, as far as they didn't have to give up a ton, believe it or not. I was stunned that Pittsburgh only got conditional 1st and 5th round picks. They got lower level prospects. Ville Koivunen is like a down the depth chart, down the prospect pipeline type of prospect. I think Ponomarev, the center, is the best prospect of the bunch, but it's not like he's a Connor McDavid or Connor Bedard level prospect or that upper echelon. He's a good prospect, but he's not like something that's maybe necessarily a franchise builder or a franchise changer, and yet he's probably the best of the bunch, Vasily Ponomarev. Koivunen, a mid-tier prospect. Lucius, a lower-tier prospect. A conditional 1st and a 5th. And then Michael Bunting, who has been around the block, who's a good player. But, all things considered, when you're getting a Jake Gensel, it's a bona fide, top-line player that's performed and produced in the playoffs every year when Pittsburgh's been in them. To get that and give up what Carolina got, which is not even close to as much as I thought they might have to give up. Great work by the Carolina Hurricanes. And I know there's Penguins fans, and I know the beat writers too. They're all over this. Kyle Dubas's return for Jake Gensel was very underwhelming here. Very, very underwhelming. I'm surprised that's all he got in return for Jake Gensel. It's got to be disappointing, because he was one of the biggest, he was the biggest trade chip that you had, and to not get more than that for Jake Gensel, I think it's a bit of a miss. I think it's a bit of a whiff, and it's definitely disappointing what Kyle Dubas got in return for Jake Gensel there. And the other big deal was Tyler Toffoli going to the Winnipeg Jets. This is a perfect fit. Stanley Cup winner, playoff experience. They do need a little bit more of that. A little more offense couldn't hurt the Jets. We know they sometimes can go into offensive droughts. He'll fit in seamlessly with that top 6 with Velarde and Scheifele and Connor, Perfetti, and you go on down the list of who they have there. Yeah, he'll fit in nicely. A nice piece. He's been in the playoff wars before, so I like what they did there. And Cheveldayoff actually getting New Jersey to retain 50% of Tyler Toffoli's salary is one hell of a job by Kevin Cheveldayoff. Well done there. You actually got New Jersey paying half the salary for Toffoli as well, and they gave up a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd-round pick. So you knew they'd have to give up some solid draft capital, but considering the Devils are retaining 50% of Tyler Toffoli's salary, that's a great deal for Winnipeg, and it's certainly going to make them a better team. We had some minor deals too. Kyle Okposo, veteran presence, going to Florida after many years in Buffalo. Chad Ruedel to the Rangers for depth. Pat Maroon, the big rig, going to Boston as if they need a little more toughness and sandpaper. Well, they just got it with Pat Maroon going to the Boston Bruins. How's that Jack Edwards Pat Maroon relationship going to work? I remember Jack Edwards with the insult to Pat Maroon when he was in Tampa. And now they're going to be in the same building together, every game the rest of the season. So how's that going to play out? That'll be funny to see how it goes there. Jason Zucker for the Nashville Predators, a team that has clearly decided we're going to be buyers. We're going to try to make the playoffs with this group in Barry Trotz's first year as the general manager. And we saw Jake Allen picked up by the New Jersey Devils. I think it's a lateral move. I don't think if Jake Allen at this stage of his career is all that much better from Dawes, Vanacek, and Schmid, all the goalies they've had in New Jersey to this point in the season. Andrew Peak, by the way, just now to the Boston Bruins for a little defensive depth. Jakob Zaboral and I believe a 2nd-round pick going the other, 3rd-round pick going the other way. Oh, and here's a breaking trade. Matt Dumba is officially on his way to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Matt Dumba to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I figured Tampa had to make a move at some point because things are spiraling downhill for them at a rapid clip. Got to try to spark the group a little bit. And look, the one thing about Tampa is they have nowhere close to the defensive depth on the blue line. You get past Hedman and Sergachev, and there it gets a lot thin than it's ever been before on the blue line for Tampa Bay. So having Matt Dumba will help. He just got dealt moments ago from the Arizona Coyotes. We don't know yet the return going to Arizona for Matt Dumba, but Matt Dumba is now a newest member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And with that in mind, Alex, thoughts on the trades we've seen here since the last 24 hours have gone by?
Well, that one, that would start with that. Dumba going to Tampa. That Bolt's team needs some help defensively. They need that kind of grit. He's a good fit that you can get. If you couldn't get a Hanifin, that's probably your second best option to grab. So I do like that move for Tampa Bay. Now, whether that helps them get into the postseason, I don't really know. I don't think so. I still think this team's kind of on that bit of a decline where I think they could still find their way out of the race. That, like somebody in the chat was talking about Detroit. Nothing is solidified in either one of these wild card races by any means with 20 games, 19 games left to go. So, but it is a good move and it addresses a much needed hole that the Bolts have. The Gensel deal, like you said, that's just a matter of, we're seeing better GMs getting what they want. You mentioned with Shovel Day off too with the Jets, but with Don Waddell, they said, okay, fine. We need Gensel. We'll give you the 1st-round pick, but it's a condition. And the big condition being we got to get to the Cup final. That's something that Dubas should have been able to at least get solidified, your 1st-round pick. Like I said, if you had just the 1st-round pick, you knew that was guaranteed, and then everything else is conditional, and you got these other prospects and stuff, then I think that trade's fair. But I think adding that condition on definitely gives the advantage to Carolina. I don't think Carolina makes it to the Cup final, to be honest, even adding Jake Gensel. So you got to still keep your 1st-round pick in that spot if that comes to fruition. And you could still have a chance to sign Jake Gensel long-term. So I think that's a brilliant move by Carolina. And just the sign of things that come with Pittsburgh, that's the first domino to fall. And it's going to be a lot more dominoes like that. And like we talked about with that older core, okay, if you find, let's say if they go on and bite the bullet and Crosby accepts the deal and wants to get traded, but how much are you going to get back for Sidney Crosby even at his age and as good as he's playing? You're going to get a haul back. You better get a 1st-round pick that's guaranteed back for him. But how much more can you get from that after? Your prospects, your scouting. Here's the thing. We talk about how they have nothing in the cupboard. I don't trust their scouting. Pittsburgh's not a team that I could say like the Hawks right now, and this is wild for me to even say this because I couldn't trust the Hawks to do this 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but I trust Pittsburgh less to do something with a bunch of draft picks than some of these other teams that have giant draft hauls. Even Arizona, a team we've seen bungle drafts their entire existence. I trust them with their 34 draft picks they have now over the next 6 years more than I do Dubas and what Pittsburgh's doing. So if you're Pittsburgh, you got to try and get some top prospects back or get some players back, in the offseason. you want to get your first round picks and your second round picks, but at the same time, you got to start rebuilding the whole kind of kit and caboodle with how you're building and getting that pipeline going. It's not the same structure. It's not the same, scouting and the same group quality of players that are funneling in to that Pittsburgh organization like we saw a decade, 2 decades ago.
No doubt. And like I say, Pittsburgh, they're going to get, obviously, a lot of draft picks are coming their way the next 5-6 years. They got to hit on them, and the scouting and the scouting department and the management team has to come through now with all of these picks they're going to end up having, and it's going to take a while. There's 0 in their prospect pipeline as far as upper echelon blue chip players, 0. So they really are starting from ground zero right now, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it's going to definitely take a while. All right, Nate, any thoughts on the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Coming to a wrap here, we'll see if there's any moves. I'm watching the Tyler Toffoli move, right, to Winnipeg. I think that's a pretty interesting move. I mean, Toffoli with 26 goals already this year. That one's, I think, a big move in my mind. I hear you, Alex, on the Gensel one, right? I think the challenge for me and Dubas getting a first-round confirmed back is, like, I don't know if Carolina thinks they can sign him, right? Like, he's an unrestricted free agent. He's coming in as a mercenary, but, can you really sign a guy like that? And then, the Penguins waiting as long as they did, obviously have limited leverage, right? So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping, the Wild get rid of some other guys, but I really like the Toffoli trade. Pat Maroon, maybe not. I think Zucker can be a big piece for Nashville. He's been a playoff contributor before, so that one's interesting. And then you look at the Flyers, right? Getting, Goryanov and Johnson. Those are some interesting moves as well. But I kind of like what Winnipeg's doing, adding some more scoring with Toffoli and a guy that's battle tested in the playoffs. I think that could be a big move and one of the best ones I've seen.
Yeah, I think Toffoli that's one of the better trades of the day. No question about that. It's a great fit, just what they need. A little more veteran presence, Stanley Cup champion, been through the wars in the playoffs. So I do think it's a great fit. Again, the trade deadline is 15 minutes away. So if we do have any trades that end up coming down the pipe between now and the end of the show, we will make sure we report those to you here. We'll become a mini/Friday Ice Guys show, breaking down the Friday card / trade deadline show, if you will, here for the next half an hour or so that we are on the air. All right, let's get into the Friday games, guys. We got 4 of them on tap, and we'll begin with the Detroit Red Wings taking on the Arizona Coyotes. Detroit minus 135 road favorites in this game. The total sitting at 6.5 across the board. Of course, Arizona, one of these teams, we just saw them trade Matt Dumba to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jason Zucker dealt to the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. And when you look at this situation here going into this matchup, Detroit and Arizona, the Coyotes, you wonder what's the roster going to look like? What's the vibe in the dressing room? And all of these question marks that you suddenly have about this group and what they're going to put out there on the ice. And, we kind of saw it last night in the Minnesota game. They didn't play that great. I know they hung around. They got those 2 quick goals in the third, but Minnesota's nothing to write home about lately either. We're still able to go in there and beat them 5-2. Arizona's definitely not a team that is very high on my bet on list right now. A team that now with some of the moves that have been made, they're going to give certainly a lot of younger players an opportunity. And sometimes that can lead to good efforts on some occasions because these guys are hungry to make an impact and show the coaching staff they can play at the NHL level. But you look at it in the forward group, they've got obviously some injuries. Nick Bukestad's banged up as well. And it looks like they could be, a forward short tonight based on their current roster. I see 11 healthy forwards right now for tonight, not 12 for Arizona. So keep that in mind after these trades. Of course, Dumba's out of there now. So, their depth on the blue line is going to get tested a bit. And then you got Detroit, who is the better of these two teams, coming off a ass kicking against Colorado, losing 7-2. Against the Avalanche Wednesday night on national TV. And it was just one of those games I think anybody was going to lose to Colorado the way the Avs played that night. They just had the puck zipping around the offensive zone. They were attacking relentlessly in waves, all 4 lines. The power play was on fire. Hat trick for Cale Makar. 4-point night for him and Nathan McKinnon. You're not going to stop Colorado when they have a night like that. And Detroit ran into them on a bad night and in revenge mode too, because Colorado lost in Detroit not too recently. So or just recently. So now Detroit bouncing back from that. Alex Lyon is confirmed in net. There was some talk it might be Reimer because Detroit's got a back-to-back. They play Vegas tomorrow night. But they're going to put Alex Lyon in net here tonight for the Red Wings. We expect Connor Ingram for Arizona, but it's not confirmed. I like Detroit here, minus 135 in this game. I think the price is cheap. I think, obviously, Arizona's selling pieces off their team at the deadline. Detroit off a bad loss. They're the better of these teams. Arizona's 2-16 in their last 18 games. What were the wins against? Yeah, Ottawa, Washington, and that's it. And they lost to Chicago at home, coming off the road trip earlier this week. So I think it's a great get-well spot for Detroit after what happened to them in Colorado. So I'm going to go Detroit minus 135, and I'm going to add the team total as well, over 3.5 plus 100 for the Red Wings team total in this game as well. I kind of lean to the over bifecta, but I'm a little bit concerned about Arizona contributing enough. I really am, because you look at them, they only scored 2 goals last night against Minnesota. And I think Detroit, after giving up 7 to Colorado, Lions looking for a bounce-back game. He actually played great even though he gave up 7. And I say that because he had to make a ton of highlight reel saves, and they still scored 7. He'll be looking to bounce back. Detroit might look to tighten it up defensively. So I lean over bifecta, but I don't love it. If I bet it, it'll be just small. The primary looks for me are Detroit money line minus 135 and Detroit team total over 3.5 at even money. Alex, what do you think here? Red Wings, Coyotes.
So last night I bet Detroit minus $1.20, and we were kind of chatting about it and looking at how Arizona lost that game and kind of thinking, wow, with Dumba and Zucker, we knew they were going to be moved. Now they're gone. We were wondering if Kerfoot could get moved. That's still a possibility, in the final 10, 15 minutes, potentially. This just seems like a Coyotes team that, they know where they're headed. They're at the bottom, and it's tank away down the stretch. They had a nice run. They had a good season. Honestly, with all things that they had to deal with and this whole, basically being a homeless franchise kind of a deal and all this uncertainty surrounding them, they played some good hockey, at an important time of the year where usually they're just, trashed the whole season. So I think they're, moving in the right direction as best as they possibly can as far as the on-ice product goes with the Yotes. Everything else is still a mess. Detroit, like I said, looking to bounce back after getting beat down by Colorado. And I think this is going to be a good spot for them. Like I said, get on the road. We talked about this early in the year. This is also a big thing, I think, later in the year as you're in the midst of a run. Get on the road. You're, a little bit more sharper focused on business. And obviously in Arizona, and there's going to be a lot of Red Wing fans in that attendance as well. That's going to give them a little bit of energy. We've seen that in this week. We saw a lot of Wild fans there last night. Go back to the Chicago game. Of course, there's a ton of Chicagoans that live in Arizona. That's the transplant hub for Chicagoans. So having that little crowd, a little bit of red in the crowd against a Yotes team that just may not have the energy, I like Detroit here. So it's a little bit high for me at 135. I would recommend grabbing them in regulation, either plus 105 or plus 110 if you don't already have that money line at $1.20. Give me the Wings.
All right, Nate, Detroit, Arizona.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like the team total for Detroit. I think Arizona played loose last night. If you watch that game, Minnesota had a ton of scoring chances. I'm a little concerned, frankly, about Detroit's defense. I think they've given up, 4+ goals in 3 straight now. You look at that defensive core, no disrespect to some of those guys. There's some good puck movers back there, but certainly not a stalwart core defensively, right? So I think this could be a wide open game. Maybe I'm looking over, but I like the Red Wings. And I'd also look puck line. Arizona, right, coming off of a back-to-back here. You never know how the young guys in that room are going to react, right? Are they going to – the Clayton Kellers, are they going to stand up after these trades and look to kind of prove themselves and have a strong finish to a season with some momentum, or are they going to go the opposite way? And off of back-to-back, a tough loss last night where I think they were pretty wide open defensively, I'd take Detroit's team total, potentially look puck line as well here tonight, because I think they're going to have a big bounce back game after that Colorado one.
All right, there you go. Nate liking puck line Detroit and team total for the Red Wings here as well in this game. I still say Cooley, even though I like Detroit, Cooley and Gunther are probably value for Arizona. On the Detroit side, Robbie Fabry looks like he's back up to power play 1. I think he's worth a look. He scored the other night. Certainly he's worth a look. I mean, We'll have to see if they keep everything the same tonight line-wise. But Veleno is still with DeBrincat and Kane. Didn't score the other night, but still value on him as long as he stays in that spot for the Detroit Red Wings. But, yeah, Robbie Fabry definitely interests me as well. David Perron scored the other night. He might be worth a look as well. So that's where I'd be going as far as player props go. All right, we'll be back in a moment. We're going to recap preview more of the Friday card in just a moment right after we hear from our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. There it is, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Of course, Beantown Friday sponsor and everyday sponsor of the Ice Guys show. All right, let's move along. We've got Colorado hosting Minnesota. The Avalanche minus 230 home favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this one. This is an interesting one because Colorado tonight here in this game. They're going to get their new acquisitions, their new toys that they got at the trade deadline. Casey Middlestat is there and will make his Avs debut tonight. Looks like on the second line who's also back. Big Val Nichushkin finally making his Avs return tonight after a period away from the team in the player assistance program. He is back, and on that second line, it looks like, based on the current line combinations with Middlestat and Drouin, Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Rantanen stays together. Brandon Duhaime, new addition as well, down on the fourth line for the Colorado Avalanche, and the new defenseman, Sean Walker from the Philadelphia Flyers, making his debut on the third pair. But we've seen these teams in the first game with all the new faces, the new players. They've not played well. They haven't gotten the job done. Florida with Tarasenko, Vegas with Mantha and Hanifin, Edmonton with Carrick and Henrique. It's pretty amazing to see how many times we've seen the team just have a tough time the first game integrating the new players into the lineup, throws off rhythm, throws off chemistry a little bit. Not saying that's going to happen for sure tonight for Colorado, but I do pump the brakes a little bit on laying minus 230 with them. Minnesota is playing some pretty competitive hockey, and they're still saying the right things, not giving up on the playoffs. We're only 5 points out. They actually won in Colorado last year here at Ball Arena, and they've played Colorado tough. So I might talk myself into a draw here in this game, Wild and Avs, for a small bet. But I do like the first period over and full game over bifecta for me in this game. First period, both teams to score, maybe, but I don't feel as strong about it. Definitely over bifecta. The question is, do I add the over trifecta, throw the both teams to score in the first period as well? And for Nate, because I don't think we've started integrating, we didn't integrate the over bifecta and trifecta until after the last time we saw Nate. That's basically first period over, full game over, and first period both teams to score when it's the trifecta. It's just first period and full game over when it's the bifecta. But I'm looking in that direction here tonight with Minnesota and Colorado. It looks like Georgiev in net for Colorado. And a reminder that last night we thought it was going to be in net for the Minnesota Wild, Gustafsson. But it ended up being Fleury last night in that game. So that means it's probably going to be Gustafsson here tonight on the back-to-back for the Minnesota Wild. So that's what I'm looking at. Maybe a little draw bet, and also looking at first period over, full game over in this matchup. Alex, what do you think here? Wild Avs.
Yeah, this is probably one where I'll be looking at those overs as well, but in game. I want to see pace, and I want to see the form of Colorado. Like I said, it's Colorado that's going to be coming out, sloppy. A lot of changes. You got not only Val Nichushkin coming back, but Casey Middlestat coming in and being on that second line. Brandon Duhaime on the fourth line. Now, he is somebody I will be kind of looking at, and I kind of talked about it yesterday. Rapidly going up against his old team. Might be taking a shot with him to get a goal, depending on that price. I got to look for that. But this game could just be a one-sided affair. Obviously, Colorado, they have all the weapons right now. And if this game was played a week later, I'd probably be heavy on Colorado team total. I think they would just be able to run through Minnesota in this defense right now. But the Wild having a little momentum off that win with Arizona. Maybe they can get some goals of their own going. And They say kind of changing things around. They're going to be a younger, fresher, faster team now without big Pat Maroon in that lineup. So, we'll see. Some of these young kids, give them some extra time, some expanded time. This is now the time to grow and develop the future of the Wild right now. I know you're still trying to possibly get a shot in the wild card, but let's be realistic. It's not going to happen. Just build upon what you have now and the talent that you have. Grow for the future, because the rebuild doesn't look to be as bad as it possibly could be for Minnesota. There's a lot of good talent here that's going to be around here for a while. And when you think about, okay, Gustafson's not sticking around forever. We know Fleury is most likely going to be done after this year. You bring up Wallstead. The future is much brighter than people were trying to lead on to believe, even myself, with the Minnesota Wild. So that's what these games are kind of about. So if you're looking at player props for that, take a shot with some of these younger guys. We see Adam Beckman in the lineup. Or something like that. Those guys, those bottom depth guys, might be getting some extended minutes and could get some decent scoring looks.
All right, definitely. Maybe Duhaime against his old team. How about this? Duhaime just goes to Colorado and he gets to play Minnesota already. Yeah. So maybe throw a couple bucks on that. He's not a big offensive player, obviously, but maybe worth a couple bucks. The former player angle against his old team always seems to come through when you don't expect it. Hell, Kevin Hayes scored for the Blues against the Flyers earlier this week, and you didn't expect that. He wasn't exactly producing before that. I think Nate has to leave in about a few minutes, so what we'll do is we'll get Nate's thoughts on this game. We'll run through the last two games with Nate, get his best bet, his bargain bin, and then we'll let him head on out after that. But Nate, what do you think here, Minnesota, Colorado?
Yeah, and I might combine those guys. I might have to run just a minute early here, so I might just do a quick best bet in those. And in our next session in the next week or two here, I'll make sure I'm here for the full time. But Minnesota, Colorado, I like the over, right? I think Minnesota off a back-to-back. Colorado has momentum. They have this firepower, right? Gustafsson really hasn't been all that great this year for the Wild, and their defense has struggled. So I like the over 6.5. I also like the over in the first period. I was looking at the Duhaime prop as well. It's plus 550 for him to get a goal, which obviously is juicy. But, I mean, he's scored 4 goals all year. I just don't know what kind of opportunity he's going to get. So I like the storyline there. Probably going to avoid it. But I like the over with both teams here. I thought Minnesota was kind of playing fast and loose last night. Expect that to continue. And obviously we know the firepower Colorado has. And Minnesota's penalty kill has also struggled most of the year, right? So you get Colorado on a power play, I think there's going to be a lot of chances. So that would be me. And, for the sake of time, guys, I mean, I don't know if I can run through all the games, but I'd
Winnipeg,
say.
Yeah, we'll go rapid fire. Winnipeg, Seattle. What do you got?
Let's do it. I like Winnipeg. You bring in a guy like Toffoli, the firepower on that team, the momentum around Winnipeg. I think you're sending a message to the group when you acquire a Tyler Toffoli mid-year. I'll take Winnipeg with that momentum at minus 120. I like the opportunity there. Not too much juice. So I'll go Winnipeg quick.
Dallas, Anaheim. There we go. What do you got?
Oh, man, Dallas, Anaheim. This is probably a pass for me. I'm going to be boring. I think 310 so steep on the Stars. Anaheim's been in some games this year. Obviously, they haven't had a great season, but they've hung around in some games. I'm probably going to pass on this one, focus on the other ones. I especially like Winnipeg. And then I think for me, I like Detroit puck line as my bet of the night, right? I think there's some value there, either Detroit puck line, or if you want to look at Detroit -1 in regulation, I think you're getting close to plus 150. I think with Arizona coming off a back-to-back, trading away guys, you're going to see sort of a dejected team, and I think there's an opportunity there. So it's Detroit for me tonight. I'll support my old teammate as I always do, and look for the Red Wings to come through.
All right, like in Detroit, do you want to go with the money line, safer, or puck line officially?
I'm going to go puck line. I'm going to go puck line on Detroit. I think they're going to have a big one tonight.
All right, Detroit puck line for Nate Rapensky and his return to the Ice Guys show today. Nate liking Detroit puck line -1.5 is plus 175, by the way. So a really good price with that Red Wings puck line bet. Nate, it is great to have you back in the mix, back in the rotation here on the Ice Guys show. We'll hope to have you back many more times here before the end of the regular season. Good luck tonight. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good, guys. We'll see you soon. Appreciate you having me on. Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
Absolutely. There he is, Nate Rapensky. And good to see him. He had just all kinds of things all at once, work and family stuff. And that's why we haven't seen him for really the last 4 or 5 months. But good to have him back here on the Friday edition, Beantown Friday edition of the show. As far as props, I will just wrap up the Minnesota-Colorado discussion with props. And like I said, I think we went through most of them. But like I said, maybe a small shot on Duhaime just because he's against his old team. Maybe you look toward Yakov Trenin, actually, with also on this team for the first time. He was actually producing a little bit for Nashville. And certainly Big Val Nichushkin back on that second line. Drouin with Middlestat and both of those guys. And Lehkonen, I've talked about Lehkonen for a while. You guys know I'll be betting Lehkonen props again. He's been undervalued for a while, and he has been clicking for a while offensively as well for the Colorado Avalanche. And then on the Minnesota side of things, here's a sneaky one. I don't know if it'll happen. Actually, he's knocked down to the fourth line, but so never mind that. But you're right, Adam Beckman. I don't mind that look that Alex mentioned. Hartman with Rossi and Zuccarello. Hartman and Rossi are going to get good prices, so maybe consider looks for those two for the Minnesota Wild tonight as far as props go. Before we get to Winnipeg, Seattle, there are some trades that we want to report. Just coming down the pipe, a few of them, and a couple big ones. Well, one big one in particular, but Jack Roslovic from Columbus to the New York Rangers. That's a nice addition. He's having a solid year. He's going to go to a better team now. He'll fit in with Kreider, Zibanejad, and company in the top six. And he'll be better than Jimmy Vesey in that top six. That's for sure. So I like that move, Jack Roslovic to the Rangers. Here we go. The LTIR Wonders, the Vegas Golden Knights, up to their old tricks. They've already got Alec Martinez on IR, Mark Stone on IR, Brett Howden, Will Carrier, Pavel Dorofeev on IR. And that's what's allowed them to bring in Tomas Hertl from the San Jose Sharks. So there you go. Tomas Hertl, a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. No return announced yet. What's going the other way to San Jose? But here's the Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, those LTIR salary cap machinations just continue for Kelly McCrimmon and the Vegas Golden Knights. But hey, if you can pull it off and do it and upgrade your team and make them stronger, why not? Now, the concern with Hertl is he's older now. He has had some injuries. He is kind of on the downward slope of his career a little bit. But he's been toiling away in this bad organization for the last couple of years, San Jose, and he'll get a new pep in his step, almost revitalized a little bit going to a team like Vegas. So Tomas Hertl on his way to the Vegas Golden Knights. And then also just recently, this is more minor, but depth defenseman move, Colin Miller goes from the New Jersey Devils to the Winnipeg Jets. So Winnipeg adding to their depth on D. But the main ones there are Roslovic to the Rangers, Hertl to the Golden Knights. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, Hertl to the Knights. Like you said, that's just it's just amazing. The embarrassment of riches once again that the Golden Knights will have most likely going into the playoffs. I mean, think about some quality guys who are going to have to be scratched if everybody's healthy in this lineup. So now you've almost got an overflow of talent there. But like I said, Hertl, once again, a guy who had to carry all the load in San Jose, certainly in these down years, but of course it was a big contributor when that team was still formidable and a competitor in the West. Now he doesn't have to be the big guy. He doesn't have to be the top guy in the top six. He can work his way in time. He could be a guy who can contribute, give some more offense to the third and fourth lines. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing an arms race now amongst these top teams with these forward groups. They want to solidify everything up the middle, have your top guys to win faceoffs, have wings who can score and give you good positioning, give you good matchups. That's what makes the playoffs so great. When we're talking about these are all the key components, when we're talking about breaking down these series and what, different lines going up against one another, that's what they're stacking and building for right now. So, it seems like it's 9 top 6 forwards on that team. That's good. You mix and match them. You can move guys around. When you got a guy slumping, you drop him down, but it doesn't mean it's a demotion. It's just, hey, we just need, a little bit more from you in this rotation. We need a little bit more defense from you, a little bit more neutral zone play in this slot. And that's the way you win championships. So good on Vegas once again being proactive at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if they can do it and not be penalized for it, why not? And that's up to the NHL to change it and prevent Vegas from being able to take advantage like this in the future. All right, let's go to Winnipeg, Seattle. A rematch of a game earlier this week in Winnipeg where Seattle won 4-3, and it was a Joey Daccord save with like 10 seconds to go, which was an incredible save to preserve the win and also, unfortunately, rob Alex and I of the draw. in that game. But nevertheless, Seattle gets the win. Winnipeg minus 120 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. I'm actually going to grab, it's not my favorite bet on the board, but I went and looked and I just thought, wait, okay, this total's 5.5. And I just thought, hasn't Winnipeg been scoring a bit more lately? Haven't they been in a few more higher scoring games lately? I went back and looked. 8 of their last 10 games would have gone over this total of 5.5 here. So they would be 8-2 to the full game over, 5.5 in their last 10 games. They are scoring a bit more, the Winnipeg Jets. And we've seen that here the last several games. We did see the first meeting earlier this week go over the total 4-3. I'm going to grab a little over 5.5 here, and especially at minus 106, is the price that I got. I mean, you got not only an over 5.5, which you don't get all the time these days, but minus 106 as well. Winnipeg's starting to percolate offensively. Seattle, even for as good as their goaltending and their defense has been, I've seen their offense improve the last few games. They scored 4 against Winnipeg. Good offensive performance against Calgary as well earlier in the week. Their offense is starting to get a little bit on track again. So I thought at 5.5, just a little too low with just current form of both teams now as far as offense is concerned. So a little over 5.5. And even though Alex and I had the draw robbed of us by a gigantic save by Joey Decord in the latter seconds Monday night in Winnipeg, I'm going to go back to the well with the draw tonight with Winnipeg and Seattle, plus 340 at FanDuel for the draw. So draw and over 5.5 here for me with the Jets and the Kraken. Nothing on the side. Winnipeg revenge spot. I kind of lean Jets, but I don't know if I want to fade Seattle right now. They got a nice little mojo going, and they're probably going to have a good goalie in net regardless. Decord, who they might start again because he won against Winnipeg early in the week, or the red hot Philip Grubauer. And it should be Brossoit for Winnipeg. It's starting to look like it's going to be Laurent Brossoit tonight for Winnipeg because Connor Hellebuck's under the weather. He's got an illness, and they play tomorrow. Sounds like Rick Bowness might save Hellebuck for tomorrow. See if he's feeling better before then and go with Brossoit in net tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Winnipeg, Seattle for the second time in less than a week.
I like the over trifecta here. First period over, 1.5, minus $1.06. Full game over, 5.5, minus $1.06, plus 192 for that first period. Both teams to score. All 3 of those are available at FanDuel. Keep in mind the Jets, they have a flu bug going around the locker room. Gabe Velarde won't be playing. I mentioned the rest, Hellebuck resting, so more than likely won't go tonight, and could be a game time decision or could miss tomorrow too. So we could be talking about back-to-back with Brossoit. I like goals in this spot. I think this number is a little bit too low. I think, these are 2 teams that desperately need points. So I'm playing the over trifecta. I have the draw plus 340. I'll take a little small shot of correct score 3-3. That's at, I'll give you the price on that a little bit later. And there's a player prop that I'm looking for out of this game.
All right. I like a lot of that. All right. As far as player props go, obviously Connor and Scheifele every night, you could say they can score for Winnipeg, and they often do. And Kyle Connor does have 2, 3, 4, 5 goals in the last 6 games, so he's heating up again. Mark Scheifele has points in 3 straight games for the Jets, but I'll throw out a couple, and Ehlers, of course, always a threat as well, although he's cooled off just a little bit lately. But Sean Monahan's been great. We know as of late for the Jets, 3 goals in the last 5 games and 4 points in the last 5. So Sean Monahan definitely going back to the well with props for him. Here's a couple sneaky ones, though, for Winnipeg. Iafallo has moved up to the second line, so there's definitely some value with him. And Vladislav Nemesnikov looks like he might be on the top line tonight with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. And he's got 2 goals in the last 4 games, 4 points in the last 4 games for the Jets. And now Nemesnikov is going to be on that top line. So there's definitely some screams value there. No question about that for him tonight, playing on that top line. And he's been producing lately. And then you've got all of a sudden, you talk about someone that's starting to get it revved up for Winnipeg. Nino Niederreiter, 4 goals in the last 3 games for him. So Nino has been starting to pick it up lately for the Winnipeg Jets. So there's some good prop options. A lot that kind of appeal to me. A lot of them appeal to me here for Winnipeg. And then for Seattle going into this game, again, Bjorkstrand has been pretty good lately for us as far as goal props are concerned, and he is a streaky scorer. Right now, he's starting to get it going. 3 goals in the last 5 games for the Kraken. We'll see if he can keep it rolling here tonight for them. Eberle's got points in back-to-back games. Tomas Tatar maybe as well could be worth a look here in this one. He's on the top line, and he just broke a long drought against Winnipeg the other night. So not a bad prop game here with the Jets and the Kraken. There's some decent options on the board. All right, the final game of this Friday slate, Dallas Stars, Anaheim Ducks. Dallas minus 310, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I mean, this has been an alarming pattern here with the Dallas Stars of playing down to competition, not putting away these lesser teams easily, and it continues to be a pattern for them. Look at the San Jose games. I mean, they were down 6-3 in the third period of the second of those home games against San Jose the other night. And yes, they came back and they won 7-6 in overtime, but they are not putting their foot down on the throat of the lesser teams and the worst teams that are on their schedule. This has been a recurring theme for the Dallas Stars much of the season. Back-to-back games where they had to go past regulation against the San Jose Sharks, at home 3-2 last weekend against Magnus Krona, who got lit up last night by the New York Islanders. And then, of course, they had to rally back from a 3-goal deficit in the third period to beat San Jose 7-6 the other night. That's not a team I'm laying minus 310 with right now. And I got to give Anaheim credit. I don't know how they did it. Well, I know how they did it. It's because they played Ottawa, and they absolutely are terrible right now. But all the players out of the lineup, they traded away Adam Henrique, no Terry, no Carlson, no Zegras, and they still managed to get the job done against the Ottawa Senators the other night. Now, there is good news. Mason McTavish also didn't play against Ottawa. He will be back tonight. So they at least get Mason McTavish back in the lineup tonight, the Anaheim Ducks. He'll center the top line with Alex Killorn and Max Jones. I think all three of those guys are worth player props tonight. All three of them. Max Jones has got value. Killorn's starting to heat up right now. And, of course, McTavish is always a threat. Brett Leason, Ryan Strome, and Frank Vetrano are – and the question is, did Frank Vetrano get traded? Because he was hot and heavy on the trade board going into this 3 p.m. deadline. We've passed the deadline, so keep an eye on if a deal involving Frank Vetrano circulates over the next 30 minutes or so. But if he is still with Anaheim and does play tonight, he's probably worth a look as well. This is one where it's a tricky game. It's not an automatic for me as far as the overs are concerned, especially if it's a Dostal in net, but it looks like it's actually going to be John Gibson, and it is confirmed, John Gibson in net here for Anaheim tonight. Jake Ottinger's expected, but not confirmed yet for Dallas. Tyler Seguin is out, and of course they've traded away Dodonov as well. No, it's Gurionov. I'm thinking of Dodonov's not traded. Dodonov's just out for the Dallas Stars. So I'm lukewarm on the overs. I haven't moved on them yet. I'm going to wait to see who's in net for Dallas here tonight in this game, and they might want to clean it up after 7-6 the other night against the San Jose Sharks. They may want to clean things up a little bit. I will be on the second period over, that's for sure, because that trend continues to be very, very strong for the Dallas Stars, which we've talked about a lot. But my main pregame bet, and this might come as a little bit of a surprise to you, but the price that's out there, I'm not turning it down. Give me the draw, plus 440 with Dallas and Anaheim. That is an incredible price. Dallas is not putting away these also-rans. We just saw it with San Jose back-to-back games. And look at the history with Dallas versus Anaheim. 4-3 Dallas in overtime in January in Dallas. In Anaheim in October, no overtime, but a 3-2 Anaheim win. It was that close to overtime in Anaheim with the Stars and the Ducks in October. Last year in Dallas, 3-2 in a shootout. Anaheim won in Anaheim 2-0, but it was an empty net goal that put it away. It was that close to overtime. So you've seen 4 consecutive meetings, 3 of them 1-goal games, 2 of them have gone past regulation, and Dallas hasn't had an easy time against Anaheim in any of those games. So this is a very live draw price, in my opinion. Plus 440 at FanDuel. Sign me up. Alex, what do you think here? Dallas, Anaheim.
Yep, I bet it this morning. It's the only thing I like in this game is the draw. You mentioned 2 out of the last 3 meetings. You look at Dallas. We talked about how they've been playing down the teams. They've been going to overtime with teams like San Jose, and this is just it's concerning. You know, this is Dallas has kind of turned into Toronto. What we saw from the Leafs at the beginning of the year, this is what we're seeing from Dallas now. High priced, on the road team you should blow the doors off of, and all of a sudden it's 2-2 or it's 3-3 heading to overtime or a shootout. So great price there. Give me the draw.
All right, plus 440 at FanDuel for the draw. And we're getting to the time of year where the draw prices aren't slowly but surely, not nearly as good as they were earlier in the season. So when you can find a plus 440 here with the draw in this Stars-Ducks game, I'm definitely going to be interested and looking at that. And like I said, I'm on the fence with the overs in this game. I really am. We'll see. I'm not as definitely don't like it as much as I like the Dallas San Jose bifecta and trifecta the other night, but I lean that way. I haven't moved on it yet. We'll see if I do, but for now, just a lean. I like the draw. So does Alex. All right. And by the way, for props, you have to take Johnston and Stankoven. These two and the chemistry that they have right now, it's off the charts. With Jamie Benn, it's actually brought Jamie Benn out of hibernation as well, putting him with these two young kids, Logan Stankoven and Wyatt Johnston, who have been absolutely ripping it up for the Dallas Stars. So I say you keep rocking with those guys for props. And like I said, I mentioned the Anaheim ones earlier that I would be interested in for this game tonight. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the Stank got sent down probably because of the trade deadline. That's true. They had to for trade deadline reasons. So probably not going to play tonight. Potentially not going to play tonight, but again, I forgot about that because of the trade deadline. But yeah, certainly keep an eye on this. Miro and Harley, yeah, Miro Heiskanen, Thomas Harley. You're always going to get good prices, Dave, on them to score a goal. There's no question. And again, they're always north of plus 400. Both of those guys usually to score a goal, find the back of the net for the Dallas Stars. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. I don't want to go crazy about 756 live viewers because someone told me yesterday that Twitter's incorporating all platforms into the number count that we see when we're on the air. I thought initially when I first saw these numbers blowing up this week that it was all YouTube. It's not. What it is, though, is it's 179 on YouTube, but it's 489 right now watching on the Twitter live stream on the Ice Guys Twitter
and
account.
Facebook too, right? Your Facebook as well. So yeah,
exactly. But that's still a great number. 760 people somewhere watching this show live, and we definitely appreciate that very much. Shout out to everyone for joining us. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Make sure you sign up there. We're going to have another Patreon exclusive live betcast later this month for Patreon members only. Our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted on the Patreon page each and every day, along with goalie charts, totals charts, bonus video content, and more. Again, sign up for just $10 per month, which goes a long way to keeping this show going long term. $10 per month. If you haven't done so already, sign up and subscribe at patreon.com/Ice Guys for just $10 per month. And again, our main betcast, this one will be open and free to the public Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It is going to be a great betcast toward the end of March on that Tuesday, the 26th. A great slate of games. And again, this is for everyone, this availability for the betcast. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast March 26th, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. And of course, make sure you check out the store as well. Get your Ice Guys gear and your merch each and every day at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
That's right. When you visit the website, iceguys.myspreadshop.com, click on the redeem button at the top of the page. You get 20% off all your orders for the next 5 days. We got everything in stock except for a few caps. Those should be back in after the weekend, but everything else, all of your regular Ice Guys logo gear, the draw season gear, the Thailanders gear, Drawson Bruins shirt coming up soon as well. So get all that and save 20% off right now for the next 5 days. iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Connor Dewar traded from the Minnesota Wild to the Toronto Maple Leafs, by the way, just now. So a little bit of a depth addition at the center ice position for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Connor Dewar, new member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, we got best bets, and can Alex get it again with us with the bargain bin special? The bargain bin special has been off the charts, especially for Alex lately. Can he deliver the goods again on the bargain bin special of the night? Stay tuned to find out. But first, we'll once again hear from our great sponsors, Boston Hemp. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Get all your products and make sure you use the promo code ICEGUYS to get 20% off all your orders over at bostonhempinc.com. All right, it is time for Bargain Bin Special of the night. And, of course, Alex, last night with a tremendous winner with Gustav Forsling, Florida Panthers, plus 800, getting the job done with the Bargain Bin. Alex, it's not easy to come up with an encore after a win like that. But what have you got for us for tonight?
No, yeah, it's been a hell of a week with the Bargain Bin, and we just hope to keep it rolling. And you look for spots and look for places, and kind of been a familiarity with certain teams. There's been some teams that really helped me cash with this. One of them being the Seattle Kraken, playing tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. It's an important game. I think we're going to see some scoring. We both love the over, and we like that over trifecta. I think we're going to see some points from Mr. Oliver Bjorkstrand. He's a guy who has 3 goals and an assist in his last 5 games. And I like him to get over 1.5 points, plus 420. Gotta love that number. Available over at FanDuel. So that's 2 or more points for Oliver Bjorkstrand, the Seattle Kraken tonight. Hoping to keep this Bargain Bin Special rolling.
How about that? Oliver Bjorkstrand, Seattle Kraken, over 1.5 points, plus 420 for Alex B. Smith with his Bargain Bin Special of the night. My Bargain Bin Special of the night, there's some good choices, good options out there tonight. As far as this Bargain Bin special look, I'm just thinking it over right now. I think I've talked myself into this one here for the win. Same game, actually, the Winnipeg Jets. Let's go Vlad Nemesnikov, Winnipeg Jets. It was either him or Niederreiter. Niederreiter's a good look too, but it's closer to plus. There's only one book that has it at plus 300. The rest have them below that at plus 250, plus 260. I'm going to go with Vladislav Nemesnikov. Top line with Connor and Scheifele. I think he scored in 2 of the last 4 games. Plus 385 at Betano, plus 370 at FanDuel, 380 at PointsBet, 350 at DraftKings. Definitely more than enough to make the criteria, and I think it's a great bet. Top line player. Very live, in my opinion, tonight. Vladislav Nemesnikov, Winnipeg Jets, plus 385 for my Bargain Bin Special of the night. All right, best bets, Alex. What do you got for best bet?
Yeah, let's go with the Detroit Red Wings in regulation, taking on Arizona. I mean, the Yotes, selling pieces off. It's the end of the road. They're thinking about the tee times and guys going to different places in the next 15, 16 games after this. Detroit Red Wings still fighting hard for a playoff spot. They've got everything locked and loaded and ready. I think they're going to be focused here on the road, especially after that bad loss they had against Colorado on national TV. So we're going with the winged wheel, regulation, plus $1.05 is my best bet for Friday.
All right, there we go. Detroit Red Wings in regulation. And again, you get a little better price with the regulation option to get the job done against the Arizona Coyotes. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. You know what, Cuban? Gostisbehere, yeah, used to be with Arizona. Now, of course, with the Detroit Red Wings. So not bad. Plus 750. Not bad. And look, he has been, that's probably going on my prop card, actually. Gostisbehere at that price. Worth a look. Now with his Detroit Red Wings against his old team. All right, my best bet here for this Friday NHL slate. I'm going to go with that Minnesota-Colorado over 6.5 here. I like the first period over too, but I'm going to go with the full game over. Gustafsson against this Avs team at home. I don't know if I like the chances of him shutting the door right now for them. We cashed with Colorado over against Detroit. They've been trending that way at home. They've been scoring goals in bunches at home. And I think Minnesota can contribute, though, too, because if you look at the recent meetings, Minnesota, especially in Colorado, they've been able to score. They've been able to produce offensively, the Wild. So, and Georgiev, we've talked about how the workload here for him has faced a lot. So, I think we see goals here. Wild Avs over 6.5 for my best bet here for Friday. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Saturday. A massive Saturday card ahead, and we'll be here tomorrow on Saturday to break it all down for you right here on the Ice Guys.